should throw into it, it's not all the kind of work that makes you want to drink a lot of liquor. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. You get to play the part of an artist and a programmer and an animator, and you get to play a lot of roles. So if anybody who's going to school right now is thinking, well, I don't really know which direction I want to go, it's a great place to start because you're going to learn a lot about a lot of different topics. So.
And the eureka moments are wonderful. When you finally get something to work that, as far as you know, no one else has made work, you just bubble up inside, and that time when you drink, it's just a relaxing drink. It's a erotic drink. It's not this one. It's that satisfaction. Your baby made it to Harvard. Yay.
Some great points. Some diversity here across the type of work we do, but also some commonalities. Cleaning up fires, as mentioned, problem solving, pipeline development, both at small and large studios and independently. I think that's a strong part of what technical artists do day to day. On that note, what tips would you give to aspiring technical artists?
Tips for aspiring technical artists. One, you've got to love it. If you don't enjoy scripting, if you don't enjoy the behind the scenes of how models get animated and stuff like that, if you don't enjoy rigging, then don't become a technical artist. But if the opposite is true and you do love it, then work really, really hard. Learn Python, learn MailScript, learn MaxScript, whatever your program you're using, and learn how to make efficiencies within your own workflow. If you're renaming something 1,000 times a day, make your own custom rename. If you're, modeling 1,000 cubes, make a script that makes 1,000 cubes. Figure out ways to make your life easier, and then from there, you can make someone else's life easier.
Cool, yeah. I think one of the biggest things that you have to have as a technical artist is an eye for detail. So really work on that and make sure you're very concise with how you're doing things, whether it be even just the naming of things. If you find yourself that you're someone that constantly has weird long names that don't make any sense for stuff, that's actually really important. That's like a building block to really getting where you need to be, so everyone can work with this art. But other than that, it's very much in a lot of ways you get a lot of reward from your job, but it can be a thankless position in that you're not creating the models. It's not the art that everyone's seeing most of the time. Production art is just creating that, and it's like, oh, look at the pretty model in the game. The graphics look great. You're doing the rig behind it. You have to really enjoy doing it, as Justin said, but also really have the understanding that if you weren't there doing it, the game wouldn't work. We wouldn't have a game. All this pretty art would be standing there in T-pose or A-pose or however it's modeled. Nothing would be moving around. So, and if you have that mindset of it, it's a very rewarding job, and it's something that you can aspire to do.
All right. I guess the only thing I would add to it is just really basic thing. Even if you can't rig, I was the person in my class who got the F in rigging twice. I just could not accept the answers I was given. Something doesn't work, like I said, aim constraints don't work properly. That wasn't a good enough answer. I had to go dig for myself. I now know the math and the matrices behind it, and I'm getting to the levels where I'm just like, I'm always telling people I'm not smart enough to do the things that I've already done. So I would say other things you should really pay attention to is you should have research manuals on everything. I know about lights. I built a skin shader based off what they gave me in Maya by faking the way lights actually react with skins when I was in college. I have books on anatomy. Especially if you're going to be a character TD, know anatomy. Know the way the bones actually move. If something breaks, especially for, it's different in film. In film, almost no matter what the pose is, nothing should break because you don't know if the animator is going to be animating something where in this one particular pose, the camera's over here and this arm is all the way back here, but it looks good, fine. But in a game, if it would break, if it moved that way, it tends to be a little bit more okay. So you should know the limits of the medium, the final output medium, and you should really have a solid understanding of what the person person behind you is going to be doing. So if you're a lighting artist, you should know that what the shader guys are doing and what the final render artists are going to be doing. So you should just know where you fit in the pipeline. And I think that would be the thing to pay the most attention to.
Yeah, it is a relatively new position, so a lot of people don't even know what criteria you need to have to become a technical artist. I mean, a lot of people consider it's just rigging, but it's expanded to become effects or plot simulation or, lighting TVs, tools engineers even like sort of fit into that position now. So I think it's best to know a little bit of everything. Like you said, anatomy is important, color theory is important. It doesn't hurt to know how to draw. And I think one of the biggest skills you can have though is just problem solving, because that's what you're going to do every single day. You're going to have to take everyone's problems and you're going to have to find solutions, and you're going to have to be able to work with people to bring those solutions to light.
I'll start off by saying I hate rigging, but I'm a technical artist. I can rig and I do some of that, but I'll hire people like Anzavan or Vinny's here somewhere, person. But I guess they've already said a lot of this. Having the artist's eye, being able to observe the world, and have muscles to form like in real life, as close as you can in a game, but you also have to know the limitations of the platform you're going for in this. But I think I would add on top of everything they said, which I agree with, is again, pay attention to the resources, not like this, like get-togethers where people are presenting. So there's the NEDAG, there's Boston Postmortem, Boston Indies, Boston Unity Group, the Blender Group. I think there's a Maya group. You should go to those as much as possible to keep yourself up to date and educated, and but also again, like hit the online forums and show your work, like CG Society, check out ZBrush Central, and again, like use Twitter and social media to sort of gather information and have information streamed to you and not distract you as much. And lastly, just as many visits as you can get with working with your peers in the industry and kind of comparing notes is probably pretty helpful.
Can I do a shameless plug now?
Sure.
Okay. And then also, what I would really recommend is, if you're really interested, you should look up Rigging Dojo. I'm getting there. Okay. And then, of course, go to digitaltools.com and look for Farley Chery's animator-friendly rigging. Okay, I'm done.
On that note, resources out there for aspiring technical artists. What resources are there, and also what advice would you give to educators who are trying to set up technical art programs, or at least informing them on what technical artists need?
So resources? Google. Yeah. Every day Google. There are a lot of personal blogs. Like a lot of technical artists have their own blogs. They put up code that they're currently working on, and they'll put little tips and tricks everywhere. But yeah, just having really good Googling skills is going to be your best resource. And you got to have the ability to teach yourself, because our job is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. So, while I started the industry just knowing MailScript, I've picked up Python, I've picked up ActionScript, I've picked up 3D Studio Max, and other programs. You gotta be willing to learn on your own time as well, because you're not gonna get a chance at the job all the time to learn the new tools that are coming out constantly. So be very self-motivated, and like I said, Google.
Yeah, Google is awesome. More specific sites that you can freaking techartist.org is a great one. CG Society has a whole section for it as well. A lot of people don't go there if they're more tech artists just because they're like, oh, that's more modeling oriented. But they have everything to do scripting, rigging sections and whatnot. An old standby that I used a ton when I was in school, that the site's not really updated anymore, but it has some great little tutorials about how to do some basic IKFK switching and stuff when you're starting out, is rigging101.com.
Yep.
That's a great one. That actually helped me a ton in my final project class, so there's still some great relevant tutorials Yeah, and other than that, it's really, the one thing I can recommend is download any of these free engines that you can and start playing around with those too. Like, you can get Unreal now for free. Like, you can get their trial versions free. Download Unreal. I believe you can get Unity too. At some level. Get Unity. Get any engine that's available, like Torque, I think you can still get and whatnot. And start working with them and get familiar with them, because ultimately that's going to be one of your best resources. If you can walk into a place and say like, hey, I have experience integrating into Unreal, Torque, Unity, whatever, Crysis if you happen to get it somehow or something, but yeah, and if you can say, yeah, I've done this, it shows that you already have the experience to get stuff working in the game, so those are great resources too.
Well, as an educator, I myself, I'm being very pretty ambitious now. So understanding the needs and demands of what the studios want, I think, is the first thing that educators could do. And then the second thing is one of the things that I know that one of my own students were trying to launch was a game design team. I really, took to that, and we're at the point now where we're trying to cross into all the colleges available and get out freelancers, students, just so that we could put people in a team and have them work out their personality flaws that would make them maybe think that Chad would think that they were an axe murderer and not quite fit what Turbine was looking for. So it's a place where it's guided with a little fearless feedback where I'll only interject randomly, but I try to have people go through things themselves. So we actually, Moose, if you'd like to stand up. This gentleman was one of the ones who started that, so if you're interested, go there. I will be probably annoying for the next year and talking to everyone at the Unity group and everything else and trying to see how many more pros could even just dedicate an hour of their time once a year to really sit there and share a tutorial or something that their contracts allows them to say. But beyond that, what your own responsibility is like they said, Google. And I'll even go one step further than Google. I'll go with YouTube, because when I was learning, I'm a technical artist that trained myself. There were no TDs at my college. There were animators and they were modelers. And rigging kind of went something like this. So no one was 100% sure. So now with all these resources in front of people, the best thing to do is just take advantage of it. And ask questions. Always ask questions about everything.
I think you guys hit most of the interweb resources there, but there's a lot of great books and such out there as well. I would say one of the best things you can do is get a copy of Maya, start doing stuff and making problems for yourself, and then figure out how to solve those problems.
What sort of tools would you recommend to people who are really strapped for money and can't afford like the real professional tools to educate themselves as real technical artists?
All the, but Maya's a free download for a trial. You can get Maya for free as a trial.
Well, Python's free.
Python's a free open source.
Blender.
Which one?
Blender.
Blender and Unity will go together, and if you're strapped and I will be honest, I know that there's a Blender guy here. Don't remember what he looks like, so I'm going to be looking for the evil eye. Okay, yeah, there we go. I don't like Blender really for modeling, so I choose Silo, which is $100, but everything else in Blender is wonderful. The modeling is just something that when I've tried it, I had personal problems with, but I haven't tried it in like a year, and I know that they've been in beta, and they've been bringing everything through, so if you want to be a technical artist, you can.